Welcome to Short Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of Airfix's Avro Lancaster, scale 1 to 72. In part 5 I concentrated on the landing gear. In this part I'm going to be carrying on the underside of the aircraft, adding one or two little bits and pieces. So let's jump onto this and see how well I get on. To begin with, I'm putting on the rudders. If you remember in part 5 that's where I left off, just making these up. It's a simple construction of the two halves and the little bracket at the top. Now these just get pushed on. It's important to check your angle when you're doing these. These things have a tendency to lean in. The contact areas are not huge, so they automatically want to lean into where it's holding on to. So you may have to just square them up as they cure. Moving on to the bomb bay, and I'm just placing in the brackets inside the bomb bay. There's a few of these brackets to go in, they're all very similar. It really annoys me that this kit doesn't have any bombs. You have to buy a separate kit for the bombs, a resupply kit it's called, by Airfix. It's not the fact that you have to buy another kit for the bombs, it's the fact you don't actually know, unless you ask someone, I suppose, until you open up the kit and have a look at it. There's nothing on the box to tell you that you need to purchase anything extra to complete the kit. It was very, very bad, I think, but on Airfix's behalf to do that. But nevertheless, I'm putting in the brackets anyway because they need to be in there. Each section has around about, has 3 bracket units to go in. You can just imagine the bombs sitting into them. It's quite a nice design actually. It's just a shame about the bombs. Each end of the bomb bay, there's a little pressing bracket that goes on. Now these are there to hold the covers open. If you're having the covers closed, you won't have to place this part in. It's quite a delicate bit of plastic, this. Mine snapped in the end when I was placing everything on, but I will get to that. It was a bit of a challenge to get everything set, let's say. But there is one little location point for these to go on to. I would have preferred to, so you know it's 100% straight. Otherwise, I'll lean to one side or to the other, and there's a bit of manoeuvring I have to do. You can't place them in without any cement to start with, so that that negates that problem. But there's a good chance you would lose them if you done that. Then I was able to put on the covers. Now these covers are such a way the whole edge will make contact with the actual bomb bay. So look at your location points for that. There is little indentations that are meant to be the brackets for the actual covers themselves, and that's where it rests onto. But it's quite tricky to get these in position. Once you put them in, push them forward towards the brackets that I put in earlier, then that will help secure it. But I did find these incredibly difficult to fit. You can see the one in position now, and the areas where it's made contact with the actual bomb bay itself. Onto the rear wheel, and I've only got one half of it. Where I'm pointing with my tweezers, that's where the other half should be. Luckily, I've got another wheel in my spares. This one's a little bit big compared to the one I'm using, just a fraction. So I'm confident that I can use it. Now, I wasn't sure whether it was me that lost the wheel or not, but I went back and checked the video when the part 1, when I took the parts out the box and looked at the sprue, and indeed that part wasn't there. So it was just a manufacturing problem. I guess it slipped the quality control. This spare wheel that I had in my spares has already been painted, so I'm just touching up the paint to bring it back to life. And once it was dry, it's just a simple case of putting the two halves together. Then I moved on to the 2 main wheels. The location points are such that you can only go one way again on this. As you can see, the The paint will need touched up, but I'll wait until everything's bonded for that. But in the meantime, it's time to paint the first part of the canopy. Now I'm using Revol Aquacolor 08 matte black for this, and as you can see I'm doing it freehand. This is a circular area that I'm painting, and I'm just running my brush over the raised area. It's quite nicely defined, so this is actually easier than it looks. If I've got any paint going over the line, I'll simply take a cocktail stick and rub any excess off to ensure that I've got a nice sharp line. I only went over it slightly, so I'm taking my cocktail stick and I'm just running it around the rim to get rid of any excess. Only do this once the paint is dried. You can do it when it's wet, but it may smear onto the clear part, so it's better waiting until it's dry. That way it'll just flake off. I've masked off the side of the fuselage. This is to start putting down my main colour on the underside. And I'm using once more the matte black colour by Revol Aquacolor, and I'll just apply thin coats using a flat brush, going from the edge of the wing down to the rear part of the wing. Try to keep that flow of the brush the same way. That way it sort of helps when you're weathering and texture of the aircraft if you brush everything in the same direction as the airflow. But as long as you do it in thin coats, you won't have too much trouble with that. But it's good practice to do so. So back to the rear wheel and to fit it, and it's just a case of pushing it onto its housing. But as I said, this is slightly oversized compared to the one that was meant to go for it. And the upshot of that is it won't be free moving because it rests a little bit on the actual shaft of the housing there. Now, I could file it down a little bit so it is free moving, but I didn't see the point. The way I'm going to display this model on the stand, it really doesn't matter if the wheel is not free moving. And then it was a simple case of adding a little bit of cement to the location and popping in the shaft. Now, I'm never sure how deep this should go, but I just pressed it in as far as it would go and left it like that. So next are the main wheels. As you can see, I've already placed one in, and this just goes in beside the two struts. It was easy enough to put in. You have to widen them slightly, just then squeeze them back in. Now, these ones are free moving, but anyway, I don't see the point of the free moving because the tyre comes with the weight already molded into the plastic. When I say weight, I mean the flattened part of the actual tyre. Next is the aerial hook thing that goes on. This kept on coming off during the build, so don't be surprised if you see it off in other shots. I shouldn't have added it now. I should have added it later on. But you can see there the masking tape. That will be coming off soon once everything is dried. Then the first clear part is going on. This is right at the nose cone. So first of all, this little square part just sits in its housing. There is a top and bottom of this, so make sure you get it the right way around. Just look at the picture on the instructions, they're clear enough to follow. I noticed once I fitted the part, I did have a little bit of gapping, so I used plastic putty Villaggio to fill that gap. Now, the gap is strange because it was only on one corner of the actual part that I placed in. So I don't know what went wrong there, whether it's just a manufacturer's fault or maybe I nicked it, I'm not sure. But as I fill this is where I'll leave part 6. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date. Hit that like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.